Go ahead and rejoice with me.
Very good morning to each and every one of you this morning. So great to have you with us, Market Street Church of Christ. We've got several visitors as well as our members that have returned, so good to see each of you here. If you're using your songbooks, the invitation song will be number 613. Number 613 will be the song of invitation. This morning we have a special guest speaker with us. A couple of weeks ago I had a call and a special guest was going to be here for a special occasion, and that being last night we had a benefit dinner for the Mount Dora Academy as well as the children's home. We had a great time last night. It was wonderful to have so many brethren all throughout this area there, and it was a wonderful evening. And one of the persons who organized that and was helping us promote that was Brad Green. Now, Brad is no stranger to this congregation because his dad, Jason Green, is a regular on our Wednesday night that we have when we have the summer series, as well as other occasions when he comes and speaks, and was formerly the youth minister here. And so everybody knows Brad, or most people who've been around quite a while know Brad. And so he called me and said, hey, I would really like to participate in the worship service. And so he gave a list, and preaching was one of those things on the list. And so he gave a caveat last night. He said they're either going to love his preaching or we're going to want to see Jason more often. One of the two. So we are so glad to have you with us this morning, Brother Brad. We're so glad for the new position that you have. And by the way, 2 weeks ago yesterday, he was married to his lovely bride, Destiny, who is here with us tonight, sitting here beside. It's another funny story about Brad is when we were talking, he kept referring to Linda, and I said, isn't Linda your grandmother? And he's like, yeah, but I didn't know if you would know that or not. So his grandmother, Linda Williams, so glad that she is a member here and a wonderful servant. Brad, come preach the word.
Well, let me start by saying thank you for your support as a congregation. I am on, right? Okay, everybody can hear me? Good deal. For your support as a congregation of Mount Dora Children's Home. I am the Donor and Church Relations Officer. So people say, what does that mean? I thought I got a badge and a gun when I applied. Officer, I thought it just kind of went hand in hand. Still waiting on that. But this is what I get to do. I get to go around from Miami, Florida to Nashville, Tennessee. So we even have some congregations out in Missouri, and I just share updates as well as fill in, speak, teach, lead a song, whatever churches will allow me to do, and just answer any questions that you have about Mount Dora. That's a work that you partner in just as much as I do being on campus. So thank you for that opportunity. As I started going around to these different congregations, speaking places, I developed this kind of personal rule I kind of live by. That's the first time I speak somewhere, I always cut it short so they invite me back. So you'll get out of here pretty early today. The second time, if you invite me back, that means you like me. We have a pretty good relationship. I must spend a little more time. And if you invite me back a third time, that's on you. You better bring a lunch because we're going to be here a while. So you've been warned. But this morning, I want to look at the idea of making sense of sacrifice. This isn't a sermon that's at the end of it, I'm going to pass the collection plate around for Mount Dora, but just kind of in your daily walk, what does sacrifice look like? So that number right there, I see somebody in here who's a special friend of mine that's an accountant, and I know that number for most people is a pretty substantial number. That number right there is actually the average U.S. wage for 2020. The average person is going to make $51,916.27. But what could you do with that money? I'm going to give you a free pass here to be a little materialistic and selfish. Think about what you would do and what you would buy, and we're going to put it in this jar. Not literally, but just figuratively. Think of something that you would buy with $52,000 just for easy number's sake and put it in that jar, and we'll come back to that in just a minute. Sacrifice has a lot of different meanings to a lot of different people. And we even see in just a minute how many different ways sacrifice was used. That TV back there is really far, and even though I have my glasses on, I still can't see it, so I'm going to turn around and read it with you. Sacrifice in some meanings is an act of offering or an act of worship that we see in the Old Testament. Another one, something kind of offered in sacrifice. Destruction or surrender of something for the sake of something else. That's the key one that we're going to focus on today. I'm giving up something so that I can receive something else. Right here, we see so many references in so many different instances. We're going to look at one that you may think, okay, yeah, that's a sacrifice in a sense. But like I said, there's sacrifices of worship, sacrifices of giving, many different sacrifices throughout the Bible. If you want to read in your Bible, Mark chapter 14 is where we'll be this morning. Starting in verse 1. Now the Passover and the festival of unleavened bread were only 2 days away, and the chief and the priests and the teachers of the law were scheming to arrest Jesus and secretly kill him. But not during the festival, they said, or the people may riot. While he was in Bethany, reclining at the table in the home of Simon the leper, a woman came with an alabaster jar of very expensive perfume made of pure nard. She broke the jar, poured the perfume on his head. Some of those present were saying indignantly to one another, "Why this waste of perfume? It could have been sold for more than a year's wages and the money given to the poor." And they rebuked her harshly. "Leave her alone," said Jesus. "Why are you bothering her? She has done a beautiful thing to me. The poor you will always have with you, and you can help them anytime you want. But you will not always have me." And she did what she could. "She poured perfume on my body beforehand to prepare me for my burial. Truly I tell you, wherever the gospel is preached throughout the world, what she has been told, or what she has done, will be told in memory of her." Some of you may see where this is going. And if you are, give me a minute and humor me, please. But there's a sacrifice here. Are you willing to give that $52,000 to Jesus solely for who he is? That's one point. We're just going to kind of go through this a little bit verse by verse. There's a lot of things going on here, if you're aware. They're getting ready to crucify Jesus. The apostles are confused, concerned a little bit. But one of the big things we need to remember when we make a sacrifice is this last line in verse 4. Somebody's always going to have something to say about your sacrifice. And quite frankly, I'm a very honest person. For those of you that do not know, that's just kind of how I was raised if you know my father. It's not for them to say anything. Your sacrifice is between you and God, and that's what it is. But people are going to have something to say if you make a sacrifice that confuses them. Side note right there, a sacrifice is at times probably going to confuse yourself. If it's truly a sacrifice and requires you to give something, it's going to feel a little uncomfortable. It may make you feel a little nervous, a little queasy. Can we really do this? As I start a family, thinking about, is this really the best interest of our family? Or is God going to take care of it? And that's a big place to be in. They rebuked her harshly. Imagine the emotion that she felt giving what she thought she could do, what she knew to Jesus for who Jesus was, and still the criticism that she faced. The next kind of highlight that I think is my favorite part is Jesus kind of puts it in perspective for him. He slows it down. Just so I read the same version you read, I'll stay up here. "But why are you bothering her? She has done a beautiful thing to me. The poor you'll always have with you, and you can help them anytime you want." There are going to be times where you have to make a gift or a sacrifice to Jesus that's going to take away from your ability to do other things. That's just how it'll be. But remember that times are going to come and things are going to happen that'll give you other opportunities down the road. But now I want to go ahead and get to the second part of this lesson. She gave to Jesus not only because of who Jesus was, but this verse was also referenced in another gospel. John chapter 12. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus came to Bethany where Lazarus lived, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. Here a dinner was given in Jesus' honor. Martha served while Lazarus was among those reclining at the table, and then Mary took about a pint of pure nard, an expensive perfume, and she poured it on Jesus' feet. Now does that make a little more sense? Not only did she give just because of who Jesus was, she gave because of what Jesus had done in her life. Jesus had raised her brother. Jesus was a friend of theirs, and he was a minister to them. So now the question becomes, are you willing to break that jar, not just for who Jesus is, but for what he's done in your life? Because even being 25 years old, I know he's done a lot in my life. I know the sacrifices that I give him don't even add up, don't even come close to what he's done in my life. Amen. That's what's asked of us. Regardless of the monetary amount, the dollar amount that you want to put on it, are you willing to make that sacrifice? Are you willing to put yourself out there a little bit more? A lot of us have heard it growing up. If you went to pretty much any of the youth rallies that Casey and those guys participate in, there are kind of three phases of life. You're either in a storm, getting ready for a storm, or going out of a storm. And I never really kind of understood that. I just kind of thought, oh, everything's moderately up and down. But some people have really, really heavy storms. And I hope and pray that those storms don't come my way. I know just through the course of life, one of them is eventually going to hit me. Right now, I'm just kind of fingers crossed that we can kind of ride on. But some of you have been through some heavy storms. And your sacrifice may not be a monetary gift. Numerous young families and opportunities are here that you may be able to spend time ministering to them. That may be your sacrifice. You may have suffered a loss early in your relationship, early in your marriage, and you may be able to relate to another family. That may be your sacrifice, your ministry opportunity. Find that opportunity if you've come out of your storm. If you're getting ready for a storm and things look sunny like they are for me, just kind of prepare yourself. Firm yourself up and find those people who you can put around you to be sources of strength. That's the biggest encouragement I can give to you. Oftentimes, if there's a hurricane coming, a lot of times boats are taken out to deeper water and anchored just to kind of ride things out. And that's what you've got to do. But you've got to make sure that anchor's strong. And that anchor's going to hold. But for those of you that are in a storm, there's not really much encouragement I can offer you right now that's going to make sense, that's going to kind of make you feel better. Right now, it's all just going to kind of feel like words. You often hear that at funerals. There's not really much hope that we can give you and change how you feel. But don't forget this. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verses 12 and 13. Therefore, let him who thinks he stands take heed lest he fall. No temptation is overtaken you except such as common to man. But God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you're able to bear, but with the temptation will also make the way of escape, that you may be able to bear it. And that right there tells me, and should tell each and every one of you, regardless of what the storm is that you're going through, you're going to make it through. You're going to be able to come out that other side. It's oftentimes kind of funny to me, I guess, in my youthful immaturity, we'll call it that, the importance or the lack of importance that people see in worship. Being, again, a part of this role, I've gotten to be a part of numerous services. I think we counted, Destiny and I, somewhere around 15 congregations already that I've visited in some sense since May, and that's a blessing. I get to see all kinds of dynamics from your little tiny country church of 15 folks, where the average age is 104, to your big mega churches in Nashville of 600 members, and kind of everywhere in between. But this, regardless of where you are, is where you find that hope and where you find that encouragement. So now we come back to this. I'm not going to smash it and break it because then I have to order a new one. But are you willing to break it? I don't know what you put in here. Don't know if it's enough yet. If you feel like Jesus has done enough in your life to deserve this. I hope you do. I hope his death, burial, and resurrection on the cross alone is enough. But not just that. As we saw Mary realized what he had done in her life. Not just what he was going to do and who he was, but what he's done in her life. Like I said, I thank you for this opportunity. I hope that just in this short time this morning, we were able to see the importance of honoring Jesus with our sacrifices, but also just with everyday life. Find that opportunity as you go throughout each and every day to minister to somebody through and from your circumstances that you've been through and the opportunity that you've been given. You may be here this morning and not know what this sacrifice is that we talk about at all. You may be going, what has Jesus done? That death, burial, and resurrection that you talk about, what is that? We would love to spend time sharing that with you this morning. Troy's here. Casey's here. There are numerous people here that can share that with you, that can study with you, visit with you, spend time with you, and really kind of open your eyes to who it is that we worship each and every Sunday and each and every day that we live our lives. But you may be living your life and you may not be giving it to him. You may kind of be holding your cards close to your chest. You may feel like you're in a slump, like you're in that storm and you can't go through it. And you just kind of want to give up. But there's encouragement here. There's encouragement in church. There's encouragement in family. And there's encouragement in the Lord. If you have a need, we ask that you please make that known and come down to the front as we stand and as we sing.